In every draft, there's usually a team that loves a player so much that they're willing to go off the board to draft him. Just take the 2018 NHL draft as an example, as the Montreal Canadiens were in need of a potential first-line center, and Marc Bergevin would do the unthinkable, as he would tell the whole hockey world that his plan was to draft Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who's actually ranked around 15 to 20 by most scouts, but clearly the Habs saw something special, as they ended up drafting him 3rd overall, which sprung the infamous surprise lady in glasses, as most people thought they should at least trade down, gain some assets, and still draft their guy. But it's definitely understandable that they didn't want to take the risk, because we also saw Arizona do the exact same thing with Barrett Hayton at number 5. Well, in 2019, Kotkaniemi would prove everyone wrong, as he put up 34 points and demonstrated flashes of an elite two-way centerman. Now, unfortunately, this season has not been as prolific, as Jesperi has only put up 8 points in 36 games and was sent down to the AHL to develop. The world of scouting is fascinating. 31 teams that all have different opinions on hundreds of prospects that might single-handedly change the face of their franchise. And these scouts' job is to find these hidden gems, as we've seen 7th round picks turn into superstars at the NHL level. So has your team ever shocked you by drafting off the board? Comment down below, I'd love to hear it. And press subscribe for some more awesome hockey content. Let's get straight into this video. We'll start with the 2004 NHL Draft. And this was of course Ovechkin and Malkin show, as the two Russians would go number 1 and number 2. And in this draft we would see a massive jump, as a 6'5" high school hockey player in Blake Wheeler went from a late 2nd round pick to being drafted 5th overall by the Phoenix Coyotes. So just a massive jump, as his rankings were honestly just all over the place. I found some scouts saying he was a late 1st rounder, many scouts saying he was a 2nd rounder, if not out of the top 50. And Phoenix would shock everyone by going off the board at number 5 to draft Wheeler, as Blake Wheeler was a very raw talent whose biggest attribute was his size and strength. And it was very obvious, as Blake Wheeler would need 4 more years of development before he was ready for the NHL. As he went to the USHL 1 year after his draft and played well with 47 points at 58 games, which isn't bad, but nothing special. And he then went on to play 3 years in the NCAA with the University of Minnesota. And to add salt to the wounds of Phoenix, who took such a massive risk in drafting Wheeler at number 5, as Wheeler would actually sign as a free agent with the Boston Bruins because he played 4 years after his draft. And in Boston, Blake Wheeler proved to be a great talent, as his size allowed him to make a great transition, as he put up 21 goals and 45 points in his rookie season. And in 2011, Wheeler would be traded alongside of Brad Stewart for Rich Peverley in Valabeek. And this would prove to be a turning point in Wheeler's career, because since this trade, Wheeler would flourish in a bigger role. Atlanta would then become Winnipeg, and Blake Wheeler would reach superstar level, as he put up back-to-back 91-point seasons and is the captain of the Winnipeg Jets. So for the Phoenix Coyotes, who saw something in Wheeler, they were definitely right. It's just unfortunate that Wheeler didn't want to be a Coyote. Next, we have the 2010 NHL Draft. And this draft had a lot of surprises, fallers, risers, but the biggest surprise of them all may have just been pick number 17, as the Colorado Avalanche would jump on Joey Heishon. And this one was definitely a surprise, as many scouts didn't even have Heishon in the top 50, mostly due to some injury concerns and, well, just his size. Because in his draft he had 40 points in 36 games and suffered a serious foot and knee injury. But regardless, he was a highly skilled small frame player who could be the steal of the draft at number 17. And I remember this pick pretty vividly, as Bob McKenzie and Pierre Maguire didn't even have his notes available, as they thought he was a lock for at least the 2nd round.
As I scrambled through my papers to get my story on Joey Heishon, he's in here somewhere.
And Heishon went on to have a great season the next year with 87 points in 50 games. However, this season ended with a very serious concussion. So serious that he nearly missed the next 2 seasons, as he only played 9 games in the next 2 years. And unfortunately for Joey, he would keep running into concussion issues. So much so, he was never able to maintain an NHL career. He had some good seasons in the minors and eventually left to the KHL and SHL. But Joey Heishon's career was really set back by injuries, as he only played 13 games in the NHL. So unfortunately, we never got to see what Colorado saw in Heishon. Next, with the 2011 NHL Draft. And this year was very special, as it was a reintroduction of the Winnipeg Jets, And with this celebration, there was something extra special about the Winnipeg Jets first round pick this year. And the Winnipeg Jets would draft Mark Scheifele at number 7. And this pick would be ridiculed by many, as Scheifele by many scouts was listed as a late first rounder. And Mark has a very interesting story, because heading into his draft year, Scheifele wasn't even ranked in the top 200. So to think that he went from unnoticed to a top 10 pick, well, that's pretty crazy. And Mark Scheifele had a pretty tough journey. As he was a 7th round pick in the OHL draft, Scheifele would be cut from the Saginaw Spirit and would have his rights traded to the Barrie Colts. However, after spending a season playing Junior A, Mark Scheifele would become one of the biggest draft risers of the past 2 decades, as he put up 75 points in 66 games, which ultimately earned him the 7th overall selection. And today, well, Mark Scheifele is arguably a top 3 player from this draft year, as Scheifele has become a cornerstone player for the Jets and is a prime example on why you never give up. Because Mark Scheifele went from being unranked to a top player in this draft. Next, we have the 2012 NHL Draft. And as the years have gone by, this draft has proved to be a very weak class. We all know what happened to the Yak Attack, Griffin Reinhart number 4 never panned out, and a lot of very up and down careers. And at number 21, we would see a massive off-the-board pick, as the Calgary Flames would jump on Mark Jankowski, a 6'4" power centerman playing in a Canadian private school. So a very untraditional place to find a first-round pick. And maybe because he was in a place with no spotlight, but the highest I saw Jankowski ranked was a mid-second round pick, as the majority of scouts had Jankowski outside the top 50, let alone the top 60. So jumping on Jankowski at number 21 was a massive stretch. And it really just begs the question on why teams like the Flames don't just trade down. And Jankowski would play 4 full seasons with Providence College in the NCAA, where he would develop extremely well. And this led him to dominating in the AHL, because in 2017, in his rookie year, he put up 56 points in 64 games. So finally, after 5 years of development, Jankowski finally made it to the NHL. And he proved to be a very good bottom 6 scorer. 17 goals in his first season, 14 in the next season. And with his mix of size and strength, Jankowski was a very intriguing player. However, this year we saw some pretty steep regression, as Mark has 7 points in 56 games, so for someone who is so off the board, he ended up proving a lot of doubters wrong, but has run into some issues this season, but still has a tool set to be a great NHL player. Next, we have the 2015 NHL Draft. And this draft is slowly solidifying itself as one of the best drafts in the modern NHL era, as approximately 18 out of the top 30 are already cornerstone players in the NHL. Meaning you had better odds to draft a franchise player than to draft a bust. And in this draft, the Boston Bruins would acquire not 1, not 2, but 3 first-round picks. And with such a strong draft class, this was a franchise-changing moment. However, the Boston Bruins would go off the board not once, not twice, but with all 3 picks, as they drafted Zboril, who's projected to be a late first-round pick, Zach Senyshyn, who is a consensus 2nd round pick, and Jake DeBrusk, who is projected to be a late 1st round pick, if not our early 2nd round pick. Now, luckily Jake DeBrusk has turned into a great player for the Bruins, but Senyshyn and Zboril have yet to make the same impression, as they have both been AHL players up until this point. And don't get me wrong, they still have the upside to break into the lineup, but the clock is ticking. And to think that Matt Barzal fell from the top 10 and Kyle Connor and Thomas Chabot were supposed to be in this range, the Boston Bruins, because of this draft, could have been a dynasty in the making. Because today, the Boston Bruins are a top contending team in the NHL. Now, just imagine if they added 3 more franchise players to this already amazing team. That is just a scary thought. Anyways guys, those were 7 players who were drafted off the board. Has your team ever went off the board and shocked you? Comment down below. I know for my team, we had Elias Pettersson. Many people thought that Elias Pettersson was a stretch at number 5, but little do they know, I guess it turned out alright. And press subscribe for some more awesome hockey content. And before I end off this video, the RTH channel has surpassed 15,000 subscribers. Just incredible, guys. I had a goal of 5,000 subscribers for the year 2020, and we've already tripled it. Just insane. And I just want to thank everyone for just the awesome support. I read everyone's comments, I try to reply to everyone, and your awesome feedback truly makes this whole process easier. So my goal for the new year is 20,000 subscribers, so let's crush it. And I plan on doing more of these little giveaways at each milestone. But anyways guys, I hope everyone is doing well through this tough time. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys later.